Hello everyone, Refresh here. Today I'm here to look at Ultra Pro's board game sleeves for mini American sized gaming cards. These sleeves are clear and they come at an MSRP of $2.99 for 50 sleeves, which averages out to about 6 cents per sleeve, which is probably the most expensive sleeves on the market for cards of this size. Mini American gaming cards, according to Ultra Pro, include Arkham Horror, Twilight Imperium, World of Warcraft, the board game, Red November, and Cave Troll. And Ultra Pro claims that these cards are 41 by 63 millimeters. Let's take a look at what we have inside. As you can see, these sleeves are glossy and smooth on both sides. And one thing that you might be quick to notice about these sleeves is that for Ultra Pro sleeves, these do not feature any hologram. There's no hologram on any of the corners. So these are some rare Ultra Pro sleeves that feature no holograms, probably because the holograms would probably cover up some text or art at this size. So even if you don't like Ultra Pro's holograms, these sleeves might still be a possibility for you because they no longer have a hologram. Another thing that you can note immediately from looking at the sleeves is that there is some warping on the surface of these sleeves, making them very bumpy straight out of the pack. Let's take a look at the thickness. 50 sleeves comes in at just slightly over a centimeter, so that makes each sleeve about 200 microns thick or 100 microns each face. Now for the dimensions, these sleeves are a little over 44 millimeters wide by 68 millimeters tall. And now let's see how a card fits. What I have here is an Arkham Horror rifle card. We'll see how it fits. It fits fine. There is actually a significant amount of play around each of the edges as well as the top, having a very significant distance between the opening of the sleeve and the top edge of the card. It's a little bit loose, and although it's very subtle, it does appear as though the right edge of the sleeve is just a tiny bit taller than the left edge of the sleeve. It's almost imperceivable, and I don't think most people will notice or be bothered by it. Next up, we're doing the sleeving test. We are going to take these 44 Arkham Horror common item cards and put them in 44 of these 50 sleeves from Ultra Pro. Let's see how long that it takes. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, we'll stop it at 2 minutes and 18 seconds. I'm going to discount it by 1 second because I started sleeving these with the sleeves upside down, and so I had to spend a turn rotating them. So I'll take it at 2 minutes and 17 seconds, which is an average of 3.11 seconds per card sleeved, which is fairly good. I would say it's a little bit on the faster end for sleeves of this size, but I didn't have any real issues with sleeving these cards overall. I felt like because of the spacious nature of each sleeve, the cards slipped in without much difficulty. The only challenge that I really faced was occasionally trying to get one of these sleeves open to put a card into it. So overall, the sleeving process felt good and was relatively fast. Now that the cards are sleeved, let's take a look at the overall uniformity. Now I did mention that there was some warping on the sleeves before, but once your cards are in the sleeves, it doesn't really show up as much, so it's not the biggest concern. There is still a little bit of visible warping, but again, once the cards are in the sleeves, the cards really flatten out the sleeves, so it doesn't seem too bad. Now one thing you will notice though is because of the warping, there is a little bit of air that gets into the sleeves, so you do have a significant accordion effect on these sleeves. Another thing that you'll notice is that some of these sleeves actually have some stray bits of plastic on them. So that means that these sleeves are not the most professional looking right outside of the package, which may be a concern for some of you. Others may not worry too much about this little aesthetic issue outside of the package, but I find it just a little bit concerning when you are paying the highest price of all of the sleeves of this size. Finally, let's talk about uniformity and consistency. Now, these sleeves actually look modestly uniform, but if you look carefully at the sleeves that are here, you'll notice that the widths are not perfectly even. That does result in some level of concern as to whether these sleeves are well manufactured or not. Now, this is the most egregious example of one short sleeve next to one long sleeve, and you can see that the difference in the sleeve width is almost a millimeter here. All of the cards fit in the sleeves, so that's not a problem in terms of card fit, but it does mean that there is some level of lack of production process control here. And so while this entire batch of sleeves so far seem to be okay in terms of their utility, perhaps across the different packs you may run across one with even more wildly uneven or missized sleeves, and that is a concern. Now let's count up the rest of the remaining sleeves and see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 plus 44, so that is exactly 50 sleeves. No false advertising there. Next we have the shuffle test. I'm going to shuffle these sleeved Arkham Horror Combat Item cards 100 times, and I'll see how long that it takes. Ready, set, go. Alright, it took 2 minutes and 10 seconds to shuffle these 44 sleeved cards 100 times, and that is a modest speed of 1.3 seconds per shuffle. It's not significantly slower than the other sleeves that I've shuffled. I found that they were just slightly resistant to being pushed into each other, and not because they had a lot of friction, because these are very smooth sleeves, but because sometimes these edges would bounce into each other and bounce off of each other. And I'm not entirely certain why that is. It could be that some of these sleeves, if you look at the bottom edges, will curve left and some of them will curve right, and so perhaps those sleeves are hitting each other and bouncing off of each other. But either way, it added to a little bit of a off-feeling shuffle sometimes when you put the sleeves into each other. Now when they work, they do actually slip into each other quite beautifully, and they're very smooth, so there's no real concern once you get them past that initial push. But the speed of the shuffle is just a little bit hindered by that, and it does make it feel a little bit cumbersome compared to a smoother shuffling sleeve. And now that we have sleeved up all the cards and handled them a bit, let's take a look at the sleeves to see how they held up with handling. Well, overall, I think the sleeves are in pretty good condition. I didn't really notice any significant damage except for a couple sleeves that had a little dent somewhere near the top of them. And so I think the sleeves are pretty resistant to wear from handling, especially since I don't even see any scuffing on these sleeves. They seem to hold up pretty well to handling, and so that is a pretty positive sign about the long-term durability of these sleeves. And now I'm going to do the shake test. Here is a deck of 44 sleeved Arkham Horror Common Item cards. I'm going to shake the table for about 2 seconds and see how the deck holds up. Ready, set, go. Alright, the deck did not fall down, so that's a positive. It started sliding a bit, but it seems like the deck will be able to sustain a bit of shaking and light touches before it will fall. So that is a pass. Next, I have the draw test, so I'm going to draw 3 cards off the top of this deck and see how it goes. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3. I think overall there's not really any concern about drawing cards from this deck. It's a pass, and even with a little bit of accordion effect, as you can see here, the deck actually holds together fairly well when you're drawing from the cards, so the usability is quite good. I think the biggest concern about these Ultra Pro sleeves is the price for what you're getting. Now, these sleeves are fairly high quality in terms of overall presence. These sleeves really have a strong presence in your hands, and part of that is just because they add a significant amount of size to the cards that you're holding, not only because of their relative width, but also because they do add a couple millimeters to the top of each card. So everything just feels a little bit bigger and weightier, and that could be nice, especially given the fact that these sleeves seem to have a high amount of durability and they withstand handling pretty well, and they also don't fall to the common pitfalls of sleeves of this size not being able to hold up in a deck when the table is bumped or jarred or failing to be able to draw cards off the top of them. So those are some really good positives about these sleeves. But at 6 cents a sleeve, you'd hope that there wasn't any warping on these sleeves when they come out of the pack, and that you'd hope that the sleeves were just simply more pristine and professional looking out of the pack. Having edges that are noticeably rough compared to other edges, and that having stray plastic bits on some of the edges is not a really positive sign with these sleeves. In addition, the sleeves don't even come out fully uniform, and so some of the sleeves are just slightly wider or skinnier than the other sleeves, and that raises questions about the sleeves manufacturing process and whether or not they will be consistent from pack to pack. And that is something that is of concern, especially when you're paying the most per sleeve when it comes to all of its competitors at MSRP. I think these sleeves are still pretty good because I haven't encountered one that is too small, and given the generous amount of space that the sleeves give to each card on both sides and the top, I don't think we're going to have to worry about running into too many sleeves that are too small. But if you buy a lot of these sleeves, I think there is a chance that you may find some that are significantly different in size from others, just as I did within this very pack. So I don't think I can recommend Ultra Pros just because for the MSRP that you're paying, you are not getting quite the quality of some lesser costing sleeves. But if you are a die-hard Ultra Pro fan, or these are the only sleeves that you can find in your local game store and you either are not willing or not able to purchase your sleeves online, then these are fine. They will do the job. But if you're able to consider other brands of sleeves, you might want to do so. If this video is helpful to you, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit the subscribe button. I will have surveys in the description box below that you can click on if you have experience with these sleeves or any other sleeves of this size. Then you can share that experience and it'll show up in the Innate Games' resource page. And that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching. This was Refresh, and I will see you next time.